Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Seventh Rule. I am here with Nog from Deep Space Nine, Mr. Aron Eisenberg, and super producer Jarrod Cooper. My name is Ryan T. Husk. We've got a lot to talk about. I think Cirroc Lofton is in an airplane somewhere like 30,000 over the Pacific Ocean, but we got a lot to talk about. We're going to talk about Episode 2 of Star Trek Discovery, Season 2. We're going to talk about some Deep Space Nine. We're going to answer your questions. And we've got a couple little news items to enjoy. So join us. We'll be right back with the Seventh Rule. Hello and welcome back to the Seventh Rule. My name is Ryan T. Husk. We're here with Aron Eisenberg, who is Nog on Deep Space Nine.
Oh, that's my cue to say hi. Hi, how's it going?
So and super producer, Mr. Jarrod Cooper.
What is up, everybody?
What is up, Jarrod? What is up?
So, where's Cirroc?
Well, Cirroc is 30,000 feet above the Pacific Ocean right now on his way to Hawaii, I believe. Is that confirmed, Aron?
Well, that's what he told me this morning. I think something came up at the last minute, but I have no idea what it is.
So we need to go to Hawaii on a search for Cirroc. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, the search for Cirroc.
Apparently, that's going to be the theme of every episode every week, the search for Cirroc.
Yeah.
And who knows? He may be calling in later on in this episode.
This is true. Fingers crossed. Tickle all the lobes.
So very quickly, let's talk about, today we're going to talk about, obviously, Episode 2 of Season 2 of Discovery. Star Trek is back, by the way. That's what a lot of people are saying. Some people are saying it feels more back than ever before because of the most recent episode of Discovery.
And why? Why are they saying that? Like, are they giving a reason for why they feel Trek is back?
Yeah, and we'll talk about it in the next segment. So stay tuned for that.
Yeah, so stay tuned for that big segment, folks.
Also, we're going to talk about Deep Space Nine. We're going to answer a lot of questions from our fans, supporters, and friends. And we also have a cool little news item that Jarrod reminded us of. Jarrod, you want to hit that one?
Yeah, basically CBS All Access has had a stellar week this past week, or 2 weeks at this point, with Discovery coming back. And one of the things they did just a couple days ago is they took the first episode of Season 2 of Star Trek Discovery and uploaded it for free onto their YouTube page. Now, it is still geo-locked, so you have to be in the U.S. to watch it. But anybody in the U.S. can go to YouTube now, free of charge, and watch Episode 1 of Season 2 of Discovery.
Interesting.
There you go.
That's a good marketing play because it was a pretty exciting episode and really high quality, high production value. So that's cool.
Yeah, but we're not going to talk about it now.
Oh yeah, that's right. Episode. Stay tuned for that discussion.
Basically, we're going to keep telling you what we're going to talk about.
Until we're out of time. So I've got a question for you, Aron, before we get too much into other people's questions. I did have a question. I kind of was thinking earlier this morning, when I was, crunching my killer biceps, and
show them. Let's see what you got for all the patrons. Come on, man. Come on, just lift up that bicep. Just show me that bump. Show me that little raisinette. Come on.
So I'm too shy. Star Trek fans don't want to see that.
Oh, I'm sure there's some. I see your arm. I see your arm. Come on, just flex it right there. Just flex it right there. Oh,
there it is.
That's looking pretty good. We're going to turn this into a muscle and fitness podcast in the middle.
So anyway, so here's my question, which is much more interesting than my pale white arm. Is I was thinking, like, if you could just go back to your 7 years on Deep Space Nine as Nog, what do you think was like just the funniest thing that you experienced behind the scenes? Like something someone said or a practical joke, or just what was it that made you laugh the most and the hardest?
Well, it's too bad you asked that today, to be honest with you, because Cirroc is in here. And
I know. I would have loved to have both of you answer this.
Well, the answer relates. Well, their answer relates to Cirroc. To be honest with you, they're on our show. I don't I don't have a lot of recollection of huge moments of laughter and jokes and things like that, except for playing around with Cirroc. We used to play a silly game of, you know, people do this where you look at the you know, I got you to look at the O, you know, the circle. And we always did it with the middle finger. So if I put the middle finger up here and you looked, and then it would go back and forth. And it might not even be finished within that episode. It might have been finished in, you know, 2 episodes later, or the next time I saw him, and it would go back and forth. If I got him, then he would have to get me. And until he did, I didn't have to get him. And this carried on. This, I mean, oh my God, as silly as it is, it's carried on to these days. And how far we'll go to make that happen.
Oh yeah.
We did it at the Las Vegas convention when I saw him there at Creation.
You put the sign on someone's back, right?
Yeah. We go to long lengths to get each other. It's really silly. It's absolutely juvenile. But nonetheless, it's what we do. And we had a lot of fun with that. And so I would, you know, that was really the most humor I would get, because everywhere else I was working with, you know, the others, and it always felt that there was more of a serious nature to it, if you will. You know,
they were more of thespians.
Yeah, it was a work ethic. Not that you couldn't joke around, but there was nothing that, you know, that I can remember that I was rolling, you know, in laughter. I'm sure I never felt like it was tense. It's not like that at all. Just nothing that, trying to think of something that might have happened. I know, and it's hard because I don't want to tell all the stories when Cirroc's not here, but there was a story with Voyager where we went over to their craft service table, and I'd love to hear some memory. And we went there because they had buffalo wings. So we wanted, you know, they had a better craft service table that day, and we wanted something different.
How close were the sets?
Huh? They were just across. Yeah, they were very close. They were across the a little street within Paramount Studios. So our studios were our stages were here, theirs were here, and literally
that's so cool.
Travel place. So we were literally across the way. And apparently a memo went out the next day. You know, DS9 cast and crew are not allowed to go to the Voyager craft service table and vice versa. So we're like, oh, oops. Hey, nobody told us. You know, we thought we were one big family. Apparently, they don't want to share the buffalo wings. You know, and they didn't, you know, they couldn't pin it on me because I'm orange, so there's no way that they could say it was me that got the buffalo wings, you know. But,
yeah, but you got the last laugh, though, because you ended up acting in Voyager in one of the episodes, right? One of the Kazon.
Yeah. So I'm trying to, I don't know what year this happened. I don't know if it was before or after I did Initiations, but it would be interesting to find out if I could remember when that happened, because I could argue, hey, I was part of Voyager, so I thought I was allowed to come back for a few wings. But lo and behold, that was a lot of fun. Although, see, the thing is, I have a lot of good stories, but sometimes I want to wait till they're on the show, you know, like
absolutely.
I have a great story with Nikki, but I'm going to save that one when she comes on.
For when she comes on.
Yeah. She said she wants to come on the show. So it'd be great to have her on the show.
But yeah, you know, to your point, Michael Dorn famously says in almost every convention he ever goes to, that when he went from Next Generation, there was such a culture shock when he went over to Deep Space Nine from Next Generation, because he said on Next Generation they were always screwing around, they were having fun, they were being silly, and then when he came to Deep Space Nine, there was just like this serious actor feel, like, you know, they weren't here to joke, they weren't here to mess around, they came here to work. You know, it was just a very different vibe. Yeah,
and maybe that has a lot to do with the material. You know, we had a lot of serious material, and you know, I know for me, when I was working on the show, not that I had a lot of serious material until a little bit later, but, you know, there was a sense for me to not screw up, right? I always thought every episode was going to be my last, so I wanted to, you know, be the most professional I could. I wasn't a regular. I wasn't there all the time, so I didn't have those built up. Hey, we can joke around, we can goof around here. With Cirroc, I did, because that's who I worked with the most at the beginning. And then obviously it was Armin and Max. but being the youngest outside of Cirroc on that show, didn't really feel, you know, I'm sure I goofed around because it's always been my nature, but nothing like in a prankster way. I remember I did a show called Amityville: The Evil Escapes with Patty Duke, and one day it was a made-for-TV movie. I came in to the trailer to get made up, and my personality alone, I really seemed to frustrate her that morning, and I remember making her mad, and I felt so bad, you know. So, and that was years before Star Trek. So maybe I took that, hey, I don't want to ruffle any feathers on my castmates that are older than me. I don't want to get in trouble by the parents, you know. So I goofed around with Cirroc, and we actually had a lot of fun for years.
You know, speaking of your other roles, I got a message just a couple hours ago from my buddy Don Crandall. I don't know if you know Don Crandall, but he's very active in the sci-fi community. He also helped us work on Renegades. He says that he was currently watching Aron Eisenberg. That's you.
That's me. Yes, that's me. I'm right here.
In the horror show, and that you played Lance Henriksen's son. Lance Henriksen, of course, was a bishop on Alien.
Yes, this is true. This was actually the first movie I worked on with Brian James from Blade Runner, the original Blade Runner. Brian Brion. Wonderful guy. He was the bad guy in it. He was great. Dee Dee Pfeiffer, which is Michelle Pfeiffer's sister, was also in it. And here's a little bit of tidbit. Do you know who did the special effects for the horror show?
My guess would be Wes Moore.
Nope. You lose, Jarrod. You lose. Nope. Maybe I should not answer it and see if anybody can figure it out. But all you got to do really is look it up, I guess.
That's a good question. I don't know.
K&B, and one of the
Toy Store?
No. It's K&B Special Effects, I think it was called. And now, oh my God! Now I'm blanking. I'm getting worried. I have to say something to make sure my brain's not losing it. Oh my God! I'm totally blanking on his name. Hold on. What? No, yeah, Greg Kinnear. It was a joke from a thing. No, the person that did my makeup, he was so in the show. There was a scene where the headphones I was listening to blows up in my ear, and they're putting all this blood and goop on my face and on my ear. My first introduction to makeup special effects. And Greg Nicotero, that's it. Greg Nicotero. Greg Nicotero is the big man over at Walking Dead. Does the makeup, and now he's directing and producing, and he's kind of, I think, pretty much in charge of The Walking Dead. So I was like, come on, Greg, give me a call, man. Bring me out to Georgia. I think they shoot that out in Georgia. So that was a long time ago. So it's really neat to see the trajectory of other people also and the success they find in life. And he was doing the makeup on that show, the horse show. It was a lot of fun. First movie I actually got cast and starred in the, and
cool.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. That was great.
Good factoid.
You want to hear a story? You want to hear a little story about that?
Absolutely.
5 minutes. I'll see if I can wrap it up. So Dee Dee, before we have to go to break. So Dee Dee Pfeiffer invited me to spend the night over at her house, and we became friends. She played my sister. She's a wonderful, wonderful woman. And that night, guess who knocks on the door? Michelle Pfeiffer.
Frank Stallone.
Oh, Michelle Pfeiffer. Michelle Pfeiffer. I was much more interested in meeting Michelle Pfeiffer. So how old was I? I was probably I was 23 when I did Star Trek, and I was probably 21 or 19, somewhere in there. 19 to 21, maybe 20. I'd have to look it up. It was 89, so that would probably be, I think that was 89 or 90. Anyway, she comes over, and I'm like, oh my God, there's Michelle Pfeiffer. Because she's so wonderful. She's so nice. She was so beautiful. I had this huge crush, and I'm like, oh my God, that was so awesome. And she came over, so we all were hanging out, and then Dee Dee goes, hey, I was going to spend the night, and Dee Dee's all, hey, Michelle, do you want to spend the night? Yeah, I don't want to go home. She goes, okay, do you want to stay out here, with Aron, or do you want to, come in, sleep with my room? And I was like, yes, we can, yes. But she went in with her sister, of course.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was pretty creepy. I was probably coming off a little too excited.
I was about to say, is this story like going to Penthouse? Where is this headed?
No, it didn't go to Penthouse Letters. It did not go there. It was a wonderful meeting, though. She was so nice. I've had a lot of good stories of meeting some great people. And I hope Dee Dee's well. I hope she's really well. She was wonderful and a joy to work with on that. And there is a funny story to that too, if you want me to tell you when we come back from the break.
Sure. Let me actually make a fun announcement that I was going to say at the top of the show, which is that our YouTube channel has far surpassed 1,000 views already.
Yeah.
And 200 subscribers. So thank you to everybody that's sharing and supporting and subscribing.
And
That's
here
pretty good.
we thought it was just all going to be Aaron's mom, and there's been more than just that. So.
But I think she has
like
150 computers and accounts, so it just might be my mom.
Yeah, well, she's doing great. Thanks, Mom.
Thanks, Mom.
No, but that's great. That's for just 2 weeks. Old. This is doing really well, and so we're really happy about that. And thank you so much for that.
And
that support.
Another thing that went live today that we talked about, we have a new Patreon tier that went live today.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
Go ahead, Aaron.
Well, yeah, I mean, one of the things I wanted to do for the show is one, have call-ins, and two, Jarrod brought the idea of doing a group discussion, if you will, where if you're on that tier on our Patreon page, we're once a month going to have all of you on here with us and have like a mini con together, Q&A, chat about the shows, chat about Star Trek, Deep Space Nine, whatever we want. And we just kicked it off. I think you kicked it off, Jarrod. You put that up yesterday?
And today.
Was today? And we got and we got 2 patrons right now, and we hope more come into the fold, and we get to have a group discussion sometime next month that we'll plan. And set up. So that should be a lot of fun. A lot of fun. So check that out. Yeah.
So let's answer a few questions from our patrons, shall we? And then
how about we do that when we come back? I think we got to get to a break right now. And why don't we go to break and then we'll go to the questions.
I'm fine with that.
Sounds
Jarrod,
good.
how do you feel about that?
Sounds good.
All right, guys. We'll be right back right after this break.
Welcome back to the 7th Rule podcast. I'm Ryan T. Husk. Super producer Jarrod Cooper is also right there in blue, and Mr. Aron Eisenberg, who is the star of the show today. The other star is flying over the Pacific Ocean, Mr. Cirroc Lofton. So we want to get to a few of your questions. Some of our patrons have a few questions for us, probably mostly for Aron and Cirroc, but we'll pretend it's for us. The first one is from Harold Lemoyne, and he says, love the podcast. That's a great question, Harold.
Thank you, Harold. Thank you, Harold. I think I paid him to say that.
Whatever happened to Nog and Rom Ferengi apparatuses / appliances? Do you call them something else?
Your butt
appliances.
I
I'm
think
assuming makeup, right?
Yeah, I think he's probably talking about your butt heads, not really washer and dryer.
Yeah, no, those are long gone. Long gone. Yeah, we would call them butt heads because in the back they look like a butt. So we had an extra booty up top and on our head, and that's really why we had the skirt, was to kind of help us with our vanity. It was kind of nerve-wracking have everybody looking at our butt heads. Actually, the truth is, people ask me that all the time about that skirt that went on the back, and Quark didn't have one, and we did. And really, the reasoning for that was all about protecting the headpiece from camera, hiding it from camera, so camera couldn't see where the latex, the head, ended at the neck. So they would use that to hide that. Although sometimes when we were shooting, they would see it through here. So sometimes we would have to turn our head a different way, which is interesting how that might affect your delivery of your lines. If you're normally this way, but they're like, hey, we gotta turn you a little bit more that way, then you're changing your body, and it switches things up. It's kind of interesting how sometimes our makeup and what we do about it and how we use it truly impacts our performance. But we never got to keep the heads. I didn't. I think Armin did, though, because I think his makeup artist, Karen, kept it. And when he was just in Destination Star Trek out in Birmingham, he put it on again for the first time in 25 years or something?
He looked like he had sold his soul to the devil. He looked like he walked off the set like the day before. It was amazing.
Yeah, the difference, I get in makeup a lot at cons, but the difference between Armin's makeup and ours is he still had his original head and nose piece that Karen kept. So therefore, it was still pretty much molded to his face. And then she did the makeup. She came out to England to do it. She did a fantastic job, and he literally looked exactly like he did on the show. I mean, it was perfect. And I don't know if he'll do it again. I think he should. If you want my personal opinion, I think it was a lot of fun, and I think the fans really enjoyed it.
I bet.
I don't know if he'll do it again because he was in it for a very long time, taking photos, and a lot of people came out to see him. But no, I didn't keep anything other than my teeth.
There they are.
There they are. That's so beautiful, those beautiful Ferengi teeth. I still have my original teeth, and I'm fortunate to have those. Max lost his. Something happened, or they broke. They broke, I think. But those were actually molded for our mouth. They made a mold of our mouth, and then on the reverse, or on the whichever one it is that they do, then they paint it and make it, and then they fit right in. It's really awesome how they do that, and so I still have them, and I did wear them on Cosmos. Remember for
absolutely
for those giant butt heads also, and I think that's what Sky was hinting at with that. So I've been in a butt head twice now. So apparently people just want to hide my face when I work. I'm realizing more and more.
For those of you that don't know what Cosmos is, it's a sci-fi comedy that I production managed and associate produced, executive produced by Sky Conway. And Aron was a butthead looking alien, and he used the exact same teeth. He used Nog's teeth. So that's a little bit of trivia for you, that those teeth have been in other productions.
Jarrod, do you have a picture of that? Could you pull a picture of that by any chance?
I'm actually getting another picture. Hang on just a second for me.
Oh boy, that's exciting.
Maybe you can find that picture of one of those.
I'm gonna see if I can too.
Yeah.
I actually have that I found for those that are.
There's nothing there, but oh, there we go. Oh yeah. See, I look like Bat Boy from the National Enquirer. I don't look anything like Nog. I look like Bat Boy.
Yeah, and Armin looks like he just walked off the set.
Yes, okay. And you know why? Because my nose is just way too big. It's way too big, and the cheeks are too big as well. They're too thick. But anyway. Yeah, there you go. Armin looked fantastic.
Let me pull
and we
up.
keep working on the makeup to make it better. And I think John, who does it, said if we do it again, I think he's got another idea to help with that the next go around. Yeah, there it is. Wait, move your head.
Way
there they are. There's the Nog teeth. And you know what's great is how awesome that looks on that character. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It looks like a Cenobite. It looks like, from Hellraiser. I look a little Cenobite. There was a guy that had that, just kept snapping his teeth in one of the Hellraiser movies. And I'm sure many of you know that Terry Farrell was in one of the Hellraiser movies as well.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and I think it was number 3, I think she was in. And the guy that had a CD mouth.
So let's talk about another question here. We've got Raphael Wugalter.
Yeah, we might want to save that one for Cirroc because I wasn't on the set enough to experience guests on the show. I'm kind of jumping your question there. Maybe I should have let you ask.
Let's do it. Let's hang on to that one. Raphael.
Hang on that. Sorry, Raphael. Well, let's wait for Cirroc. I think he might have better answer for that one for you.
We also have David Johnson, who says, Discovery remains by leaps and bounds the best television available. The writing, acting, special effects, and innovation are well worth paying for. My question is, can the show avoid the Orville effect with its anti-intellectual comedic approach and retain its expanding audience?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, obviously, time will tell, right? Time will tell if some of the jokes that they are doing on the show, like, for example, actually, I agree with them 100%. We talked about in the first episode about the Sleestack character, right? That sneezed on the guy. I think that was a very Orville moment that I was kind of like, I think if they do it more subtly, like they did with Tilly in the second episode when she runs out, and then they hold on the frame of the door looking through, and then she runs back, which is a very Mel Brooks kind of a thing. I think they can. I think there's a place for it. I know Melissa enjoyed it, and I enjoyed that part. I thought that was funny, and I'm okay with that. Kind of brings a little bit more humanity into the show. I think if they push it too much, I think they could. I think it's a fine line they're drawing. You know, I think they got to be very careful not to go too Orville-ish. To be honest, I think Orville should be much more humorous. And then there's so many things they could do.
I was just commenting that the Orville this season for season 2 has been a lot more serious than it was for season 1.
That's right. Yeah.
It's almost like
You told me that. But that again bothers me as well because I mean I'll have to watch it. Let me see. I can't really say anything about Orville season 2 until I watch it. And right now I'm focused on Discovery, which I am 100% loving. And I'm okay with it. And here's another reason why. And Ryan, I want to hear your opinion, yours too, Jarrod. I'm okay with the humor because, they're charting their own path, and they're doing things a lot differently, in some ways that the other shows did. And I'm not a fan of being stuck into a paradigm that this is Trek and this is what you have to do. And maybe it's because I'm a DS9 kid, in the sense that that's what I heard about our show so long ago, and I was like, but you're missing such a great show, and everybody's putting so much into it, and it's giving you another facet of this jewel called Star Trek, and let Discovery and the producers and the writers do their thing. Let it be their show. And people that haven't watched Star Trek before or aren't huge fans aren't going to be like, well, this isn't Star Trek. They're going to be like, oh, that was cute. That was funny. I like that. It makes it a little light. And as long as it's not too much, I think it can satisfy both audiences. But it really does take people to kind of let go of of what some people I feel have as a rigid idea of what Star Trek is, and not the core and the theme of what Star Trek is. They're forgetting that's what really makes it Star Trek. Do you know what I mean? And that goes into what we said we'd talk about Discovery, and what does Star Trek really mean to people. And again, it's subjective, right? It might mean different to me than it does to you, Ryan.
Well, I think the key word in that question, as I'm looking it over right now, the key word is intellectual. And I think there's I'm saying that intellectual, and that's the difference between Star Trek humor and Orville humor. Star Trek humor is intellectual. Orville is lowbrow. I mean, I love it. I think it's funny. I love Family Guy and all that stuff, but I'm just saying it's a different brand of humor. For example, I think when people are comparing the two, I think Star Trek humor is like this beautiful quote when Q walks up to Worf on the bridge of the Enterprise and he goes, "Eat any good books lately?" That's funny. That's funny. It's not a pie in the face. It's not a booger, sneezed onto someone's mouth, but I think that's when they say the anti-intellectual, I think they mean the sneeze is anti-intellectual.
Yeah, you're right. Good call. And
so I think that's what he's looking at. And to answer the question, I'm not worried about Discovery running into the Orville effect, whatever that means, because they're completely different, and they're not going to go down that road because they know that they're not going to be funnier than the Orville, just like the Orville's not going to be as good as presenting serious material as Discovery, not to compare the two. So I think we'll be just fine. I think that,
Well,
the sneeze, don't eat it, but they'll be fine.
taking your comment a little bit more to heart, I would have to kind of agree and say I don't think it could if it keeps doing that more and more. I think the audience it may not pull them in as much as it needs to if they keep having that sleestack sneezing moment. If they set it up like that. And I think other humor that they're doing, more intellectual humor, if you will, or as you just mentioned, Star Trek humor, is fine. And you're right. Maybe I was kind of grouping it all together, which wasn't really fair.
And we all have to remember Star Trek has had its humorous moments throughout the years. Shining example is Lwaxana Troy's headaches getting everybody horny in Deep Space Nine.
Sure.
I don't think I was in that episode, but I think I felt it at home. I was home and go, wow, what's going on right now?
It's called Fascination, and it's fascinating to watch, nonetheless.
Yeah, and then there was Magnificent Ferengi, and we had a lot of moments of humor on our show in that sense. Same with Cirroc and I, Jake and Nog. And in this show specifically on Discovery, they had some good moments and clever, humorous moments as well. So,
right.
So yeah,
I'm not worried about it.
Time will tell. Time will tell, right? We don't know if they keep pushing it or if they pull back from it. I mean, today's the second episode, Anti-Electoral, was really only one that I can remember, and it really wasn't that bad. And I thought, that's okay, that's fine. And that's when Tilly ran the wrong way, But
that was funny. That was funny.
I thought so too.
It's a little bit lowbrow, but it's certainly not a sneeze. I thought it was funny. It wasn't. It's not a world breaker, but it was funny. It was good. We liked it. There was that long dramatic pause. That was fine. That was good.
Since we're talking about Tilly, can we talk, and that scene in particular, can we talk about the fact that it was from the point of view of a dead person?
Well, good job going straight to one of the parts of the story, Jarrod.
Just saying.
And not even getting there.
Let's officially move into the Discovery portion.
Good job, Jarrod. We're setting up Discovery so somebody can, say, okay, I'm done, and thank you. And now you just...
That's okay.
We're going to have to start muting you, Jarrod, if this is what's going to happen every week.
We'll be fine. So if you don't want any spoilers beyond that one, with episode 2 of season 2 called, what was it called, Jarrod?
New Eden.
New Eden.
That's right, Jarrod. Thank you.
I said that.
So if you don't want any spoilers, skip ahead to the end, or just check us out next week. And for those of you that have already seen it or don't mind spoilers, continue to listen and take it away, Jarrod.
So yeah, her little imaginary friend. Tilly and her little imaginary friend from childhood. Apparently that is who landed on her shoulder last season. That's the current, what's being... Rumor, but it's being floated by like Frakes in interviews.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That it was was Tilly's little green speck.
Well, I think in a deeper sense, what I liked about it was in the connection to the show itself and the theme of this episode of, is there a divinity? Is there a God, or is there not? And is an alien. What is I saved it today so I could read it. What is the, no, it's under 7th rule. Hold on. Clark's Law that they brought up in the show. Any sufficiently advanced extraterrestrial intelligence is indistinguishable from God. Yep. And this theme in this show is what really echoed what I think Ryan brought up earlier about being a Star Trek episode. And it reminded me a lot of the original series when there was constant philosophical ideas and debates and conversation that was elicited from the show. And I think they did a fantastic job of doing that in the crux or in the flow of the serialized part of Discovery. They included that, and I feel the writers need a good hats off to doing that, giving a good feel of what I think some people feel is Star Trek, which is a story of the week, meeting a new race or a new civilization and figuring out how to deal with it and or not deal with it and to move on, or what conflicts arise from that interaction, and yet it was still tied into the flow of the show, which is the beacons or whatever is calling them that Spock drew up, right? That was also in their own map that they have. And how is this all connected? And why were they really brought there? Were they really summoned there to save them, as they did with the asteroid, which ties in to Tilly's imaginary friend, or not? Or, what is really calling them? Is it divinity? Is it God? Is it some? How did Michael put it in the show when she questioned Pike? She had a good word that she used. But is it something religious, or is it explained through science that's doing this? So I really liked this show, setting more seeds for the series. I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah, and something that I noticed again, almost like realized, is how good the scoring is. I don't think we give them enough credit, and by we I mean just Star Trek fans in general. We talk about the visual effects and the makeup and the acting and the writing, but the music was fantastic. And it wasn't until like the second half of that episode that I really kind of realized it again. And I think that also gives me that Star Trek feel. Because it's like modernized, and it's futuristic, but it still has, hey, there he is, everybody. That's Cirroc Lofton, for those of you that couldn't see that at home.
Hi, Cirroc.
What's up, Aaron?
Did you guys hear that? What's up, Cirroc? We're here doing the show. You interrupted Ryan on a very deep tangent about the scoring of Discovery. So, the fans were very upset that you interrupted him. So I'm sorry I answered it, Ryan. I'm sorry, everybody, the Seventh Rule fans, but
no, he just made us. He just proved us right when we said he might be calling in the middle of the show. So
yeah,
we got it
in. Yeah.
Cirroc, what island are you on?
What island are you on?
Maui.
Yeah. You're not lost. Reference? Got the reference? Okay.
I'm not lost. I'm relaxing now.
Oh, you're relaxing now. Do you want to?
Just arrived.
Do you want to actually be our very first call-in to the show?
He already is.
There it is.
Yeah, you have to call in to the meeting line, right?
Yeah, you got to call into the meeting line. 8675309.
Ask for Jenny.
He actually was going, oh, I better write that down. Wait, that's not it.
What's the area code?
Come on, call me Jenny. Call me Jenny.
All right. Let me figure out how to do that, because I just landed. I don't even know about my Wi-Fi and all that stuff. So.
But do you need? Does he need the Wi-Fi to call in, or can he just call from his phone? You just call from your phone like you're calling me.
What's the number?
He's got it in an email.
But before you commit to that, can you do that?
Yeah, I just got to get settled here, so I just.
Oh, so we're checking in the hotel lobby right now.
Okay, all right. So at least he made it, as Ryan predicted. He goes, hope that you would make it. Hopefully you can call back and join in at the tail end.
Jake Sisko always comes through.
Like 15 minutes, and I'll figure it out.
Okay, he needs 10 or 15 minutes. He said he'll figure out. Do you have the number, or can I have Jarrod text it to you?
You can text it to me, would be faster for me.
Okay. Should we make it easy for him? If Jarrod, you text him, he said it'll make it easier for him.
All right.
He said he's begrudgingly said okay.
Yeah, as he sipped his coffee.
All right, buddy. I hope we hear from you soon.
Okay.
All right, buddy. Bye.
Great. Maui, man. That's my favorite island.
He landed safely. There you go, folks. Cirroc Lofton is here. Not here. He's actually
Virtually.
in Hawaii and on the island, Maui. And hopefully he'll call in, and he'll have time to call in, and we can get him in at the end of the show. So
anyway,
go back to what you were saying, scoring of Discovery.
That's mainly it. I thought that was just kind of piggybacking on that. That was part of what made it feel more Star Trek to me, was the music. I thought the music was really good. I think they're doing a great job of the scoring. I don't think that gets enough credit as far as what I'm hearing. I reckon like the biggest Discovery group in the world, so I kind of know what the fans are talking about. I don't hear anybody talking about the scoring, and I think they should. But also mentioning, you mentioned Tilly. I don't know if you noticed, but that's what's in the background here. That's Tilly's mouth, and that's Saru's mouth.
Yeah, I figured that wasn't Tilly on your left. I figured that was Saru. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, moving back on to.
Oh, and look at the little what did we call that, Mito? On her shoulder, the red dot.
Yeah, the speck. See, right on. Oh no, that's.
Never mind. Oh, never mind. There's
things.
Were those the one? Was that what it looked like? What floated on her in season 1?
No, it was green.
Okay, yeah. Okay, I was wrong. Never mind. I was wrong. I forgot.
Come on, it was green, Aaron. Everybody knows
is
that.
The dark side. Red is the dark side.
I went and saw a Harry Potter movie, one of the Harry Potter movies. I don't remember what it was. And there was a woman like 2 rows behind me, jumped up halfway during the movie and yelled because of like a flash from a wand was green instead of red. And like that was what triggered her and she left.
Oh, how do you know
I'm glad I don't watch Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Oh.
Sorry, that was.
Well, that's a weird tangent.
It's a green-red tangent. I'm sorry.
Oh, I see it. Now I see the connection. I'm sorry. I was lost on why we went to Harry Potter. No, things affect people, little things, you know. Jar Jar Binks, you know, had a very negative impact on a lot of people.
He was not a little thing, though. He was very prevalent in that first episode. Jarrod, what do you think? Did you feel like this was more of a Star Trek type episode?
Well, I thought it was a more traditional episode, more than I thought it was a very Star Trek original series episode and a Star Trek Next Generation, we're on a ship, we're going to go episode of the week. It was that type of Star Trek episode.
Yeah.
And for some people, that's what they want. For me, if I wanted to go watch Star Trek the original series or something like it, I'd go watch Blu-rays. If something was a remake of something over and over, I'd get bored with it. I understand why people wanted this type of episode, and it was great. But Discovery's always been a little bit different, and I really am enjoying that. You know, we are telling stories from the Star Trek universe from all sorts of different sides.
Yeah.
You know, speaking of that, what was up with the 15 to 18 minutes of lecturing after the episode was pretty much over? Like, usually the show goes, and then there's like the climax, it ends, and there's like a 10 to 30 second to maybe a minute of like the wrap up or the moral of the story or the lecture or whatever. This one had like 15 minutes of additional, like, I think maybe it almost seemed like they realized, oh shoot, we still need 10 more minutes. Let's just have them talk about what they've learned today.
Oh, and producer count was 20.
Well, Ryan, in that regard, what specifically you're talking about? Because I didn't feel that way. I actually enjoyed the conversations, although I find myself being less critical on the second watching of the episode. In the first watching, I was viewing, I should say, is a better word. I was having a hard time because they were all still and just kept cutting, face, and there was just a lot of what I felt was exposition. Then they go in the room and there was more exposition. They're talking and they're all kind of standing still, going here, and here. The second viewing, it didn't affect me at all. It didn't bother me, and I was more drawn into the show. And then there were things that I heard and listened to, and then I enjoyed it more on the second viewing. I enjoyed it the first time, especially the and I don't like to say verses because I don't think it was quite verses, but I like the whole religion and science battle, so to speak. This conflict. I don't even, you know what it was? It wasn't a conflict. You know what I liked about it was because it showed that one person's view can see the same thing and see spirituality in that, and another person sees the same thing and sees science. So like when they transported out of the church, which was pretty metaphorical. I mean, well, not metaphorical, but it's pretty, what's the word? It was done very specifically so that both Jacob and the mother came in to see that occur at the altar in the church, and then both their perspectives are different. He knows it's science that got him up there, and she says an angel from heaven took them back. You know, and I'm like, that was pretty awesome in my opinion. And it didn't say that one was wrong versus the other. It almost said it coexists. Science
Well,
and religion are one and the same, and really almost negated the debate, in my opinion. Maybe I'm looking too deep into the episode, but I think I loved it more for that. And to touch on what Jarrod said, that he doesn't want to see a standalone episode. I like the mix. I like if they do that, but it still ties in to the story that wherever we're going with Discovery, and you see the connections at the beginning with Spock, which I have a comment about, by the way, his voice, and then towards the end where she then admits what she saw, and then he's all, was that a revelation? She's like, does it have to be? You know, I don't know exactly what she said. It's just, and I love the dynamic between her and Pike. Neither one is trying to fight for their opinion. They're exploring their ideas. And that whole theme, all those connections, whether it's in one story or 5, to me is what is Star Trek.
You know, that's all a good point, and that was a great way to illustrate it, was during that beam out thing. There was, however, one point where they just did not leave it up for interpretation, and that's when Michael Burnham said flatly and plainly, she said, they're clinging to a faith that's based on lies.
Hold that.
Yeah.
They're clinging to a faith, hold on, lies. Let's revisit that right after this break.
Mm-hmm. I didn't need to expand on that. I was just All right, welcome back to the 7th Rule with Mr. Jarrod Cooper, Aron Eisenberg, and Ryan T. Husk. And we are talking about NBA basketball today. Now,
Yes.
Aron, what were you saying?
I was saying that, you know, people discount me because I'm small. But what's really difficult is when somebody's 7 feet tall, they can't really reach me down there without breaking their back. So it's actually very advantageous to be as small as I am and play in the NBA. And you know, I have my tryouts in this summer with the Lakers, so we'll see how it goes. Spud Webb is working with me every Saturday.
He's 5'7".
Yeah, exactly. So I'm, you know, and I'm 5 feet, so I'm even harder to defend than him. So
Muggsy Bogues was 5'3". Earl Boykins was 5'5".
Yeah.
Keith Jennings was also 5'5". But anyway, nobody cares about
See,
that.
if you change basketball to have the hoops like 3 feet lower, it's going to make it really hard for them. It's going to change everything.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, I think that's what we should do. That's just my opinion. I'm going to start a podcast about it.
Viewers, I'm just as confused as you are. Don't feel bad.
Not me. I love basketball. But anyway, so back to Discovery. It was, I think we all agree that it was a good episode. We all agree. Personally, I think
Wait. I'm sorry to interrupt. You were going to talk about what Michael said. That's what we left off with on the break.
Well, I think that was basically it. The point is that they're usually a lot more like they leave things open to interpretation, and they kind of present both sides of things, like the Bajorans. You know, they had the wormhole, they had the prophets that could be aliens, they could be gods, they could be whatever people want to interpret them as. Klingons, they believe in their gods or their Kalis and all that stuff, and those are real things, and sometimes some things are debunked. What was her name? Jadzia or someone actually went to Stovokor.
That was B'Elanna with the barge.
B'Elanna, that's right. In one of the Voyager episodes, somebody actually went to Stovokor. So that's
I wanted to go, but nobody invited me.
Because her mom was dying and she was like hallucinating. Yeah.
So that's another thing that's subject to interpretation. But this one time, just now a few days ago with Discovery, they really didn't leave interpretation as much. I mean, this was the first time that somebody just flatly said, not that religion was incorrect or that she didn't believe in it or it could be 50-50. She said it's based on lies. Like it's like just a fundamental, you know, mistruth. Like people are trying to deceive people.
Right. But what did Pike say back to her?
Well, what he said, if I remember word for word, and I think I do, is he said, "Can you prove that?" And I thought that was a good response. It certainly wasn't, you know, how dare you? I totally disagree. He's just saying, hey, can you prove that? And then, you know, she acknowledged that you can't prove the non-existence of something. So she replied like, well, what I can prove is, and she changed the subject into something else. But I do think that was by far the boldest that Star Trek has ever gotten as far as denying religion, I think.
Yeah, but I disagree. I don't think they denied religion. I think in this episode, they showed that that there isn't a denial of it, that it's a perception, or it could be, in the sense, and is one wrong over the other? You know, is she? He even makes a quote as he's looking out to the stars, as they in the earlier part of the episode, and this is really the whole theme of everything that's going on is, you know, is it divine or is it not? And what does that really mean? What does divinity really mean? I don't think it defined it one way or the other. I think it left the question open still to that.
I don't know if they say it's a faith based on lies. That's a pretty close.
Yeah, but that's what she said.
Hey,
that doesn't mean her journey would continue that way, though. That was her perception there, because she even said earlier, "I'm a science officer." She said, "Did you even consider taking it from my perspective on how you got here?" So she held on to her ideology, which she feels very strong. Feels very strongly about, but I think Pike was there to kind of ask her questions in that whole aspect, in the whole vein of what was going on. I don't think it was even at the end declared to be one way or the other, and then we bring in what was happening with Tilly. What does that mean? Is that a hallucination, or is it something else? And I think that was why, well, I'm assuming, or my perspective was, that was why that happened in this episode as well. And it was there to help save those people. So who's orchestrating the communication to Discovery to get there, and then to give the answers, or to pull the answers out of Tilly to save this civilization, and for what purpose? And Pike is a balance within Michael's science belief as a buffer to the religious belief. And that's why, and earlier she doesn't say, "I saw this angel," but she does later. So is there a journey for her to find some balance or some spirituality?
That's a great point. That's a great point. And that actually brings up two quick points here is, number one is, that makes me think that the Tilly talk is, you know, that spec, the rumored, the theoretical spec that went there was that girl that she spoke to, that nurse. And that's got to be a prelude to Tilly and or Stamets figuring out how to bring Culber back, or that Culber comes back, because now we've seen that somebody that is deceased but that has a message for somebody in the living can do so through that mycelial network or something like that. So there's a little opening right there where we know we're going to see our boy Mr. Culber, that I love that dude.
Yeah.
The other thing is, when you mentioned Pike, let's talk about him for a second, because, you know, after episode 1, a lot of people were on the Pike train, and they're like, "Oh my God, I love Pike. Pike's so cool." And I was like, I didn't really see that much. Like, if he had like 5 lines, you know, and then he got yelled at by Burnham or by Saru and whomever, you know, and he didn't really have much to say until the end. But in the second episode, I saw it, and they were right. And he's a good actor. I'd never heard of him before. He's a good actor. He's charismatic. I think they, you know, there's great casting there, and I think those people are right that there's definitely something there with that character. What do you guys think about Pike?
I love him as an original series and longtime Star Trek fan. It's really sad knowing where that character ends up.
Yeah.
Knowing what happens to him. It's really sad.
You know, you keep bringing that up every episode. I think you need some time to reflect on this, Jarrod, before you come back.
Yeah.
And let's go, move on. You know, we've got a whole 7 years to go of enjoying Pike. You know, it's.
I mean, I do. It's just. My only nitpick about this episode and last episode, and you brought up Tilly and Stamets, is Stamets just wandering around the ship at this point?
Yeah, they don't know what to do with that poor character right now.
they've literally got Tilly running around, going into the shuttle bay, handling this, but she's also got to run back to engineering, and she's running. And Stamets, who is arguably a character with a similar skill set, if not better, is just casually walking the halls.
Yeah.
It makes me wonder, from a story point of view, if he is already seeing Hugh and they just haven't told the audience yet.
Or maybe he's
Yeah.
grieving.
Well, yeah, and you know, he said something on the first jump that they did in the episode, and
He sees him everywhere he goes.
Yeah, and he said
yes.
nothing. He said nothing is ever truly gone, and then he just kind of left. And he was, after the jump, they didn't show what he experienced, and he was very visibly shaken by that after the jump. I don't know if it was just physical or if it was physical and mental. And then that led me to believe, ooh, did he have an experience in there that, like you just said, we don't know about, that we'll find out later. I think, you know, they can't tell all stories all the time, right? They can't have every character have equal. They're not going to go, well, you're going to get 10 minutes in the show, you're going to get 10 minutes.
That's right.
You know, in all shows, some don't have as much going on as others do. And
they're juggling it well so far.
But
I agree.
We got Wishkin off the bridge.
What?
We got Joanna Wishkin off the bridge, and she was able to go on the away team.
Yeah, yeah. She's great.
And you know, Stamets is involved in this episode. Did I say that wrong? I think I said it wrong.
Stamets.
Yeah, he is involved, and they've, in both episodes so far this season, they're building up the relationship with him and Tilly and that friendship. And I do think it was incredibly bizarre that Tilly was extracting a piece from the dark matter by herself. I was wondering where OSHA was. Where were the rules to protect all workers in the dock? It was kind of a little frustrating to me. And the way she got knocked, I'm like, yeah, her back is gone. Okay, that's great. Her bones are shattered into millions of little pieces. And I like how Stamets came up and on the bridge at the end, although it reminded me of Neelix showing up in the first couple episodes, where all of a sudden he was at the bridge. Oh yeah, I can help solve this problem. And I was like, well, that's random. Aren't you a cook? Why did you just show up on the bridge? So when he just showed up randomly, I thought that was a little forced. And then he was there to help out in some. I forgot what he said in this episode. And then Sir's, oh, get going. We got 2 minutes. And I loved how he ran off. I thought that was kind of funny, the way he ran. I thought he was going to do a Mel Brooks and flip over the console, drop down, I'm fine, and then take off. But so I don't think he's wandering, although you make a good point, because we don't, what is he doing elsewhere? And maybe he's wandering, and he's just, that's what they should do. Every time they're walking somewhere, you just see him walk in the background. You know, he just drifts around. He's hanging out at a console, just doing really nothing.
You know, to that point, well, first I just want to say one more thing about Pike. One thing we can all rest easy. We know he's not going to die, right?
Right.
So that's a good thing. We know if he does die, then obviously we're in a different universe.
Unless he's the Mirror Pike.
Yep, which I doubt. But that's to that point of, you know, juggling and scheduling the people, and some people get more time and less. And, you know, like, there are really 3 new main characters in that first episode, and we only saw one in the second one, that we saw Pike again, but we didn't see Jet, what's her name? Jet Reno, right? Played by Tig Notaro, and we didn't see the new Barzan lady, whose name I can't, Non or something like that. I think Non.
But I think they're taking the notes that they had last year and engaging the other characters on the show.
Right.
Oh, I love the bridge crew, and I'm glad that they're getting some
more and more
lines rather than just one icer every 5 episodes.
Yeah, and the line when she says, I've been piloting since I was 12. I was thinking to myself, wow, and Nog learned how to read at 14. And I'm like, you know, Nog's pretty smart then to come so far, and just learning how to read at 14. And I never thought of that before. And I think Melissa pointed that out to me. And I go, wow, there's more intelligence in Nog than that was shown. If somebody can learn how to read at 14 and within, you know, a couple of years join Starfleet Academy, and then, you know, go on the trajectory that he did, I'm like, you know, I thought that was kind of cool. Made me think
Well,
about
say
that.
what you will about Ferengi. One thing that's been consistent with the writing with regards to Ferengi is that they are always smart. They might be meddling or conniving or untrustworthy,
Yeah, true.
but they're always portrayed as
Well,
intelligent.
except for Brunt, okay? Let's be clear. Except for
FCA.
Brunt. But if you go back and watch DS9, his lobes are smaller than the rest of ours. And that's a sign of intelligence. In Ferengi, the larger the lobes, the more intelligent usually we are. The larger our heads, bigger brains. You know, Brunt, you know, he doesn't really have the lobes, unfortunately. But you know, that's a discussion for another day when we have Jeffrey Combs on our show.
Let's take our final break and then come back with a few-minute wrap-up for everybody to listen to our fun voices one more time.
Excellent. And maybe Cirroc will call in.
And if not, then he'll still be here next week, and we're going to have tons of other goodies for you all on the 7th rule.
Perfect.
Perfect.
All right, good. And
so this is what I was thinking. We do this 2-minute wrap-up, and then if Cirroc calls, cool, in 5, 4, 3. Welcome back to the 7th rule. By the way, the 7th rule is what, Aron?
Keep your ears open.
That is the rule of acquisition number 7. Ferengis and their rules, right? My name's Ryan T.
Live and
Husk,
die by them.
Jarrod Cooper, and Aron Eisenberg, and we're just wrapping up here. Aron brought an interesting point over the break. We just took like an hour-and-a-half break, and we were talking. And what was that point you brought up?
Well, you know, it was interesting to me that they would call what we've come to be known as the Prime Directive as General Order 1. And I was curious as to why, and why did it change? Did something, because it doesn't seem like the idea behind it or the order, so, or the directive is different, unless I'm missing something. And I like that that was part of this story, and that there was a conflict between Michael and Pike about how to deal with that. And she says, but they're us, and they're misinformed, and we can reintegrate them back into our population. Therefore, we should do it. And he was like, no, they were pre-warp, and we should not interfere and let them evolve. But then again, when he brings the power cell, isn't he then breaking the General Order 1 / Prime Directive?
Yes, yes, he is.
So, and because I'm not, I have not watched all the Star Treks, I am pretty sure that a lot of captains break the Prime Directive, correct?
They always do.
Well, in this case, he could almost be justified because he was just giving them a recharged battery. I mean, they technically already had that technology sitting there. It was just depleted of power.
And the other thing that's always interesting to me, this is kind of on a side note, it has nothing really to do with the Prime Directive, but, well, actually it does. When they go down there, when they beam on down there, first of all, they all had, like, different clothes that I thought looked kind of hip. I'm like, wow, you know, Pike always looks really cool. And it wasn't like they were in multicolors. They didn't look like Power Rangers this time. And if we go 10 years forward into the Enterprise, they all come down with colored shirts. And I know that we can't always connect it to exactly the canon from the past. I get that. But isn't going down there in of itself going to somehow influence the Prime Directive, especially when they realize, hey, you're not from around here. Who are you? And then everything goes crazy. Isn't that the same as going back in time and changing the timeline, being the ripple, the stone thrown into the water that changes the course? A butterfly flaps its wings. So I was thinking, so aren't they always breaking the Prime Directive, and they only use it when it sounds like, well, we can't do that now. We can't do that now. And then there's an argument why you can. And then I thought, here, last thought, and then I won't talk too much. There should be another group of people, beings, race, that goes, screw the Prime Directive. We want to jack up everything that we possibly can, and we'll be the antithesis of the Federation. And, you know, and then I thought, oh, well, wouldn't that be the Borg? Aren't they always trying to assimilate and take over and screw everything up? And why, if they did back there and give them help to help their society go forward, is that really changing anything, or is it or is that really what was supposed to happen to get them to move forward in their evolution? Why is it the prime directive? So we can't touch them. We just want to change their evolution. They need to evolve. Okay, can't we help them evolve? And now we're part of that evolution. It's not. Why is that a bad thing? Those are a lot of questions.
We talked about this earlier, and one of the things I want to plant in the minds of listeners that might not have noticed it. There was an original series episode called The Paradise Syndrome, and there they came across a Native American colony that had been transplanted off of Earth and placed on this faraway planet by a race called the Preservers. That's what they did. They took races on the verge of extinction, plopped them up, and dumped them across the universe.
That's what happened here.
That's exactly what happened here. And so we're wondering if what's happening now is related to what's coming on, because back in season 1, if you go back and watch Context is for Kings in season 1, when Burnham is having her vision in the mycelial network, you can see one of the Preservers' towers on Andoria.
But
interesting, yeah.
But they didn't go extinct, because she even said, "But we didn't all die." So so that theory wouldn't really apply, because if they came to transplant them somewhere else because they were going to go extinct, although you could argue this.
It was World War III. They very well might have.
No, but we didn't. Earth didn't. They even said that at the beginning. Michael said, but we didn't go extinct. We're here.
But if you're in the middle of a war, you don't really know if anybody's going to live at the other end.
True. That's true. So maybe the perception was that they were going to go extinct.
Right.
But then when they didn't, why didn't they just put them back? Oh, they're okay. Hey, we're going to bring you back. I don't know.
Right. New Eden, thumbs up, thumbs down.
Thumbs up. I'm very happy with this season so far. It's great. Oh, really? Oh,
really? Oh, okay.
And hey, all you subscribers listening out there, feel free to jump on our Facebook group, a closed group to the patrons if you want to jump on and share your ideas with us, with me. If I see them and I can get in there, I'll be more than happy to join in. And we'd like to get that group discussion going in hopefully next month and make this really a part of the community. It's a lot of fun, and this was a great show. A lot of good talk on this, a lot of good ideas. I look forward. You know what's really great is that I look forward to the next episode. I look forward to Thursday night. I want to know what's going to happen next. And I'm really curious to see how Spock comes up into the show, because right now I keep thinking when I hear his voice, it doesn't sound like Spock. And I know that's not fair to say that, but Leonard Nimoy had there was a softness at times to, and a quietness to Spock that I don't feel like I'm hearing in the current Spock. Now maybe it's 10 years.
Hard to replicate.
Yeah, it is. You're right. It is.
I think the actor's doing a good job so far of doing, I mean, just the best he can do. He's not going to be able to duplicate it. It's not going to be as good, but I think he's doing a good job so far. So far, I think that they're doing
it's
well
not
with that.
fair for me to judge him either. You know, that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to go, ooh, I can't wait till he shows up. I want to see the conflict between him and Michael, and I want to be pulled into his world. So I'm not judging him. I'm just listening to it in the tape, not tapes, but the recordings, and waiting to see what really is going to come about. That's all.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So that's it. I think it sounds like we liked the episode. Everybody did. I think the writing continues to improve. I think most people enjoyed this episode, and actually I did check on IMDb, and I believe so far it currently has the highest rating of any of the episodes so far.
Oh, wow.
And that's good, and that's why a lot of people are clamoring, hey, Star Trek is back, not just because it had the same feel, but also just because it seems like they're warming up. They're starting to hit their stride. You know, we're sinking our teeth into the characters. The music sounds good. The characters are good. You know, I think it's going to keep getting better for us, just like the first season continued to get better for the most part.
I thought it was great all the way through. So I've been a fan since the first episode because it reminded me of The Shield. You know, when
and there we go. There we go. Woo. You barely snuck it in, man. That was a 3-pointer at the buzzer.
Yeah. We got to get Michael Chiklis on the show someday.
I will say I'm looking forward to Laurel coming back. I'm missing my Klingons.
Because you're worth it.
Laurel, yep.
All right, guys. Thank you all for joining us on today's show. We look forward to having Cirroc back after his Hawaiian trip that we have to learn about what's going on. We're sorry he couldn't make it in here at the last minute, but we'll hopefully see him next week.
We'll have him twice the next time. So for Cirroc Lofton, who did call in, for Aron Eisenberg, for Jarrod Cooper, I'm Ryan T. Husk, and always remember the 7th rule. Right. So
Hold on one second before I forget. Was that good, Jarrod? All that breaks, is that going to be helpful?
Yeah.
Good. Okay.